Business and boundaries seem to go hand in hand. And having super weak boundaries means that you just get pulled everywhere, always frazzled and not getting results. Whereas super rigid boundaries can also stunt your growth. There's balance in strong and firm boundaries with some natural flex.
Hi, I'm Beki Eakins, business mindset and lifestyle coach for occupational therapists. I focus on creating a freedom-based online business, helping OTs to package up their skills in unique and exciting offers that feel so good that they sell with ease in the online space. Since leaving the profession of OT, I have now worked with hundreds of clients online, helping them to create a life they feel inspired by. In this podcast, I will talk about the lifestyle goals, mindset, and strategy you need to create your own life of freedom.
I wanted to talk about setting boundaries because one thing that I've noticed since being an entrepreneur is that there's this constant up leveling required in boundary setting. And each time I reach a new level in business, I know there's a corresponding up leveling in boundary setting that is required. Business and boundaries seem to go hand in hand. And having super weak boundaries means that you just get pulled everywhere, always frazzled and not getting results. Whereas super rigid boundaries can also stunt your growth. There's balance in strong and firm boundaries with some natural flex. So let's talk into this a little bit. At the start of your business, when you're brand new, there's very little respect from other people for what you were doing. So, family, friends, kids, colleagues, people just don't tend to respect your business time. And that's often because you don't quite respect it as well. And until you are paid for what you're doing, it can be very hard to feel that you are working. And even if you feel okay about it, others around you might not respect it because the money's not yet coming in. I had a particularly bad experience with that. And at the start of my business, there were a lot of very negative comments made. Things like, you're not working, you're playing, it's a hobby, not a business. You're just sat there being lazy on your phone. I heard it all the comments and all the demands for me to be doing everything at home. They were just great. Like, when you sat there, and particularly because I used to sit on a chair with my phone at the start of a business, not even the laptop, I can see why it didn't look like I was working. The other thing with me is I'm always in pajamas. And I had no set times, no boundaries, no moving to another room. And there was just no way of knowing when I was working or when I might just be chilling. So it was partly my fault in the way that I presented myself. So I found that I was respected, my time was respected if I had a call with somebody, because then it looked like I was working because I was on a Zoom call. But when I was on my phone or the laptop, even though that's potentially very important work, it did not look like it was real work to other people. So there was a lot to do with not getting paid. I know there's just this big thing before money's coming in a business where there tends to be this lack of respect for what you're doing, and you're full of the potential. Like, I can just remember I felt like I was a big earner even though I wasn't. Part of me just knew that I was going to be, but other people didn't. And then that played into my fears and insecurities, because I was like, oh yeah, even though I feel like I'm not making money just yet. So I can see where the battles come from, where the frustration comes from. And I recognize that I had to be the one to lead this. I had to set some strong boundaries, And this required a little bit of shifting. Some small things, such as I needed to move to a different room and shut the door and actually say, I am working, I will be available at this time. Having set working hours and sticking to them did make a big difference. But there was also a lot of boundary setting that had to come internally. I had to truly respect and value my time before other people would. There's no point in me moaning that others weren't taking me seriously when I wasn't taking myself seriously. When you've not made money or not made much money, there's a need to still respect yourself as an entrepreneur. And one of the things I used to do was really focus on the end goal. Right from the start, I focused on my big aspirations, and I treated it like I'd got this big business right from the start. As soon as I realized that these boundaries needed to come from within and that I had to respect what I was doing. So the boundary setting really started at home, quite honestly. Having an online business is the biggest test for home boundaries. And there was an initial up leveling with boundaries at the start of a business as well. Like I noticed there was some set time periods when suddenly my boundaries were being tested everywhere, and they always corresponded with periods of growth. There was always, just before a period of growth, came this settling of me having to pull in tighter and strengthen boundaries. And there's so many areas that literally I could talk about this all day, but just to limit it. But the clients, actually setting boundaries with clients was a big area, because at first you feel you just want to bend to everybody's needs. And then soon you realize you can't actually enroll multiple clients and have all of these things that you're doing for some clients. And you've got to tighten up. Recently, I've found that due to the large volume of new clients, I've had to tighten up again. It just keeps happening. But in the early days as a new business owner, I was creating personal offers for people, different payment plans, and each time it takes so much work. It really does take so much work to set up the invoices. Like, it's not worth it. I had somebody ask recently, do I do a one-off session? And quite honestly, it's just not worth it. I don't believe in the value of it, because I see that virtually everybody needs a good injection of help and support. So it's not something that aligns to me doing one-off sessions. But all the faffing around, it's just not worth it. So I don't bother. So I soon realized that if I continued with this pattern of creating new contracts, new invoices, like, it was just going to be overwhelming. And to be totally honest, it's a full-time task in its own right, trying to keep up with who's owing what, where the money's coming in from, which bank and what service they're receiving. So when clients ask for some variation in what's being offered now, I don't allow it. I've got the different stages, the different levels, and I stick to that. They've been set up to accommodate all budgets, but also they've been set up to be automated. So I don't have to spend my time worrying about chasing invoices. Quite literally, I would have to pay somebody to do this if I was still going on the old system. So I'm just really firm, and I set strong boundaries. And with each moment that I've tightened up and had stronger boundaries, it's allowed space for more abundance as it streamlined services. With clients, I have a system for personal messaging to come in. And again, I just want to reply to everybody straight away all the time. But quite honestly, the messages are now coming in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it would be just overwhelming if I was going to respond to everybody straight away. So when I just had a few clients, this was so easy. But now with over 30 clients at any time, I've just got to be strong and clear with my boundaries. And I communicate that I've got set days off and that I set myself regular slots for replying to all the clients in one go. So my time and how it's managed was another real area for growth in terms of boundaries. And it's so easy as a business owner to be there and available all the time. But actually, that's in direct conflict of my need for freedom. And whenever you're in direct conflict with your own internal values, you're going to find it harder to sell because you're not living in true alignment. So I'm really careful how I manage that because I know that I need to be aligned and my business needs to be aligned with the core of who I am. Otherwise, there'll be friction. The path will be bumpy. I recorded a mindset meditation, one that you can do overnight. Very powerful in terms of helping you create the confidence, the self-belief, and deal with any money mindset issues. I use these kind of overnight meditations all the time. I found them incredibly powerful. So I've created a very special one and I'm giving it for free to all of my podcast listeners. You can download it on the show notes. So I've always checked in my business most days, especially at the start, and that's included even being on holidays. I think when you're the only person within the business, you do tend to check most days. And because of that, I've always worked here and there. I tend to work early mornings or late night and then just take the whole of the day off. But sometimes the temptation is to keep working. So work's never done, I've realized, like, especially when you've got a brain like mine, where you've just got 1,000 ideas that roll into your head before 5 a.m. every morning. So the work will never be done. So having set hours has just made a really big difference. And that means, as I said, not responding to client messages all the time, not chatting to people on social media all the time. It means not writing content all the time or checking social media, but actually just scheduling these things in. And the tighter and tighter I pull in, the more energy I've got. And there's always tweaks. There's always times when I think, whoa, this is out of kilter. And then I have to assess it and look and think, what am I doing? What patterns have I fallen into? What am I not being firm with? And I pull back. So it comes in ebbs and flows. But I did set my working hours a bit different to what other people do, because my lifestyle, I just want to be outside when the sun is out. I don't want to be working. Not that I'm a sun addict, but I just like being outside in nature. So just being outside during the day is really important to me. But this also suits my international audience. So I tend to work early mornings, late evenings, and weekends more than I work during the week. It suits me for a lot of reasons. My kids being home educated, and then of course being able to meet clients across different time zones is a lot better because I'm willing to work the weekend. And I've not got the kind of life where I only see my family at a weekend because we're all over the place. So there's always a holiday issue as well, because I'm on holiday all the time. Even now, just at the point of this, it's the 10th of April, and for the whole of March and April so far, I've been mostly traveling and being away in various different hotels and staying in a different country to where I live. And this is just life. So I have to take the laptop with me because the amount of holidays I have, it just would never work if I never checked into my business. So to counteract this, I have to schedule a holiday within a holiday just to really set some boundaries. So in Australia, for example, because we were away for a few months there last year, I had to actually say, right, when we go to that Airbnb, I'm not checking in with work for the whole time while we're away. And just kind of schedule that in so that there's a holiday within a holiday where I've got super strong boundaries to actually take a break. So the holidays thing is quite tricky to get right just because I'm always away. When we went to Fraser Island, near Brisbane, it was just one of my favorite things. I love it when there's no internet. I really do love it when there's no internet, no phone signal, and you can just be there in nature and just taking a complete mental break. Like, if I find it so restorative, but particularly now, my business is a bit bigger. Like, it's so important to actually take that break and be really strict with it. So over the years, I've learned that I've got to be strong with boundaries. And for me, my business is still on my personal phone. I've never actually got around to switching this out. It's partly because when somebody's working for me, I do like to keep an eye on what's happening. So it does mean that I've got one eye on business quite a lot. So I'm aware of that. So when I am ready to take a break, my phone has to go on flight mode, or it's just put in a different room where I'm not going to be. At some point, I will get round to having 2 pins, but at the minute, I'm just rolling on internal boundaries to manage that. Staff was another area that I realized I needed stronger boundaries. And when you've got staff, it's just such a big test of your boundaries. It's my business and I have to dictate how I want my business to run. And having staff that are running my business whilst I sleep, it's amazing. But it does mean that there's always the temptation to respond or help with various things, no matter what time of day it is. So again, that was another area that I recognized boundaries can just go out of kilter. So if you're listening to this and you recognize within your business that your boundaries, they're just not there, I've got some top tips for you. So first of all, know what you want. Part of boundary setting is just literally knowing exactly what I want. And as a new entrepreneur, because every situation is a new experience to you, it's actually quite hard to know what you want. You know, if you've never hired anybody to work for you, how do you know how you want that to look? So, spending some time actually understanding your key values, really getting to know you, and then you just use your values as a guide for every decision that you make, and particularly in terms of setting your boundaries. So, that can be really helpful. The other thing I've found with getting to know you is that silence, meditation, or calm, like, so important to have that every day. And the more silence and nothingness there is in my world, the more I understand myself, and I am then able to communicate this more clearly to staff, clients, anybody who you're dealing with. So really becoming one with your body, tuning into the small sensations and clues that your body gives can be very helpful. Small things like just learning to recognize what fear looks like in your body, or where you feel hurt or rejection, can just really help you tune in to how you feel when you receive that from somebody else. So that's number one. The second tip I would say is take ownership of boundaries. So, one of the mantras I've got that I find very helpful is that you teach people how to respect you. So, if somebody shows me a behavior that I feel is disrespectful or makes me feel uncomfortable, it really highlights an area that I need to strengthen a boundary, because I've allowed that to happen. And particularly if it's a repeated action. The first time it happened, I allowed it to happen, then the second time. So it allows me space to grow into being clear about what treatment I expect from people. And it's so easy to moan that people are not treating you correctly, but accepting that you've allowed this pattern to occur in the first place is more helpful. And you can do this from the start of a relationship. So at the start of a sales call, for example, you can frame how that sales call is going to run and what's going to happen. You can do this at the start of a client relationship. And you can also do this when you interview or onboard staff. Like, there's so many opportunities that we could be clearly communicating our expectations and our boundaries before things then go wrong. And this ensures that the relationship has the best chance to work. So that's the second. And then the third is work on your self-worth, because self-worth really plays into boundary setting. If you're not holding yourself in high esteem, you will have weaker boundaries. You will notice self-worth by how you hold yourself, how you allow people to respect your time. It all comes from within. If you respect your time and skills, other people will. And if you love yourself, others will love you too. Trust comes into it. And if you don't trust that you're going to follow through on something, it's actually really hard to demand that others trust you as well. So if you hold yourself to high standards, have good self-worth and trust in yourself, you will find it much easier to expect this back from others. I hope this helps with your own boundary setting.
If you are an OT with 3 to 10 hours per week spare, then the OT Yourself to Freedom membership is best for you. It will teach you how to create a business, an online freedom style business, but in an affordable way. And this is best for those of you who haven't got the time to really go for it. If you have the time to go for it and you want to achieve bigger results in a short space of time, what you're looking for is the OT Freedom Collective. This is for OTs who've got 10 hours a week or more and you're just really keen to get big results. That's where you're going to be closely supported by our team for a 6-month period. It will be intensive. You'll learn everything you need to create this freedom style business. And the biggest word that people say about it is that it's life-changing.